All right, here's the third. And this Timothy Bowman is a non-member. He's at the University of Missouri. He's an anthropologist. He says the third characteristic of ethnicity is historical memories. Who can top us on that? Jews. Historical memories. We're a history-rich church, and our history and our tribal customs that come out of our history are very rich and thick. And when you talk about distinction, and we're not picking on anybody, but you go down and, you know, I'll use my father's term whenever he wanted to talk about just some random church, he'd say the church of third Ezekiel in them. So if you go down the street to the church of third Ezekiel in them, and you put us up in comparison in terms of valuing history, we win every time. All right, so historical memories, you know, just put handcarts. Right? Elements of common culture. That's the next piece. So common culture. Do we have common culture in the church? If you go to a potluck here, and you go to a potluck in Pflugerville, and you go to a potluck in Springville, and you go to a potluck in Boston, what are you going to find?
Casserole.
Casseroles?
Funeral potatoes.
Funeral potatoes? Bishop's not here, so he can say that. He gets mad at you if you say that. Green Jell-O, orange punch, right? We have common culture. Who can doubt that? When you go to the movie theater and you walk up to the big board of movies, what do you automatically do in your mind?
Rating.
You take out all the R-rated ones, right? Yep. It's like they just fade into the background. You just don't even see them. Common culture. All right. Link with the homeland. That's the next one. Link with the homeland. You know, we're very unique in this way. Homeland has always been important to the church. Where we are. First we're in New York. Then we're in Kirtland. Then we're in Independence. Then we're in Far West. Then we're in Nauvoo. Then we're in Salt Lake. But what's different so we have a strong connection to homeland, and of course we've already set up the Jews and we've set up the Muslims, right? So let's do some comparative analysis. Do we have places that are important to us? Yes or no? Yes. Yes. Have those places been taken away from us from time to time?
Yes.
Yes. Right? What's our attitude about it? Go on to the next place. That's how we're different. So if homeland is an important part of ethnicity, and an important thing to claim ethnicity is to differentiate from others who have that, let's do some comparative analysis. Jews. Do they have a homeland? Yes.
Yes.
Were they kicked out of it?
Yes.
How did they react to it?
They're still reacting.
They're still reacting. They're still trying to get back. 1949, they're allowed back in. They go back. They set up. They have to share temple ground. It's an obsession. And you look at Jewish culture throughout. I'm a student of Spanish, of Spain. The Jews were kicked out of Spain at one point, and they were kicked out by the Moors, right? The Moros. The Moros came and they kicked the Jews out of Spain. You know what the Jews did? They all took their house keys and had the big house key, you know, with the big ring and the big piece on it, right? And they encased it in glass. And they fled. And so if you go into disaffected Jews' homes, you'll still see this antique key. Because they think someday they're going to go back to Andalusia, to their home they were kicked out of 4 centuries ago. What do? We pick up, we move on. What about Muslims? Do they have a homeland?
They're working on it.
Mecca. What's their attitude about Mecca?
Nobody can go in except for them.
What would happen if another country would somehow deface Mecca?
All hate
This
would
whole
break
thing
loose.
comes unraveled, right?
Yeah.
All right. So homeland, big part of ethnicity, but how are we different? We're distinctively different about our homeland. We move on. We have reverence for it. We talk about it. We'll spend a whole year talking about it. But we move on. Next one. This is a good one. Sense of solidarity. That's the 6th and final characteristic of an ethnicity. Sense of solidarity. Do we have a sense of solidarity in the church?
Yeah.
Yes. And I think the biggest proof is Prop 8 in recent memory. Another one is when the priesthood was extended to all worthy males. Whenever in the church politics crosses religion, you find out how we are as a people. When the Kirtland Bank failed, when some of the brethren in the church were cheating the members in land deals in Far West, when politics crosses, Brother Bennett in Nauvoo, politics crossed. Our involvement with the Masons, politics crossed religion. You find out really fast where we stand. And, you know, I've said before, if left to my own devices, I may have voted differently. But the church said, vote this way. Put the sign in your yard. Donate. And so I did. Because when we stand together as a people, we really stand together as a people. And you cannot deny the solidarity of our church. We're a powerful force when we stand together. And we've proven it time and time again. And everybody knows. They know how we are. They know the church's stance in political and societal areas and how we have the freedom to choose for ourselves. But when the church comes out and says, this is the direction we're going, you do it or you get gone. And we'll talk about this in more detail, but the church has a way, historically, of breaking off the extremes. So if there's a fringe or an extreme or somebody out on the wings, the church has a way of making them gone. Trust me, there were a lot of very conservative people who left during when the priesthood was extended to all worthy males. We lived in East Texas at the time. We saw them. There were a lot of people that left. And during Prop 8, there were a lot of people who were very liberal in the church that left. See? Kirtland, the Kirtland Bank failure. There were a lot of people that left the church. What happened in Far West? There were people who left the church. But the church always ends up stronger. And as we talk about culture and we talk about ethnicity throughout the year, as a framework, that's what we want to come back to. Why these things happen and how it affected us as a church. So as we go through the year, and I'll try to commandeer one of these bulletin boards, we'll put up these themes on what our identifiers are. And at the end of the year, we'll sort of have who we are. So when I say to CJ, you can't play Smash Brothers because it's rated T for teen, and he says, why? And I'll say, because that's who we are, then that will have more meaning for me. Because through the year, as we see these identifying traits, we'll post them up. So why is that? Why is it that we're quick to forgive? Why is it that we have a conciliatory nature? I'll tell you a quick story to finish up on how church history affects who we are today. I was a vice principal at Marina High School, and we have a big dodgeball tournament. So my job is, I was activities director, I approved all the dodgeball names. You know, so some kids would try to, you know, have some nonsense for a name, right? Something inappropriate. So one of the dodgeball application comes across my desk, and it says, Storm and Mormons. That was the dodgeball name. So I approved it. Right? There's nothing inappropriate about that. Well, the principal came to me and said that when the brackets were posted, some people complained. Because you see, it was 2008. And what happened in 2008? Prop 8. Now, the Storm and Mormons were that in 2007 as well. And they went all the way to the semifinals. Nobody said a word. But now in 2008, it mattered. And so the principal said to me, you got to call in the kids, and you got to tell them to change their name. It can't be that. So I called in the kids, all 10 of them, 10 future missionaries. And I said, you boys got to change your name. Can't be the Storm and Mormons. Pick something else. So they went away. Of course, you know, any of you who work in schools, you know the next meeting I had. The parents. And the parents came in, and I shut my door, and I said, okay, look, you guys know who I am. So I'm going to talk to you as Brother Dale for a second. We have a history of not fighting ridiculous fights. We have a history of acquiescing on little petty things. So we're going to acquiesce on this too. And I gave them some examples from church history. We have a history of backing down on little petty things like this. We've done it for 160 some odd years, and we're going to do it again. So you know what we changed the name to? The Sons of Helaman. Nobody knew who that was.